Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is Piyush and I'm here with the third part of our exciting Citrix interview question and answer series. Today we are diving into one of the most crucial and fascinating topic, the Citrix access layer. If you have been following the series, you will know that in the last video we covered the user layer. Now it's time to step up and tackle Netscaler and Storefront like a pro. So grab your coffee and let's get started. This video contains four different sections. The first question will be having question related to the common troubleshooting scenario on Citrix ADC and Storefront. The section 2 will be having question related to the configuration issues. The section 3 will have question related to the upgrade scenarios on Citrix ADC and Storefront. And the fourth one, which is the most exciting one, is the real world scenario based question on access layer, which contain question related to the Storefront and as well as the Citrix ADC. Alright, let's kick things off with some real world troubleshooting scenarios. I'll throw out the question and you can pause the video if you want to think about the answers before I break them down. Ready? Here we go. Our first question is, how would you troubleshoot if users are unable to access their application through Citrix Gateway? To answer this, first, let's verify if the Citrix Gateway URL is accessible. You can quickly do this by trying to access it from a browser or using ping to check the server's availability. The next step, to check the DNS resolution. If DNS is misconfigured, that gateway won't be reachable. Then verify the SSL certificate. Make sure it hasn't expired or isn't valid. SSL issues can often prevent user from connecting. Finally, dive into the session policies. Ensure they are correctly set up and match for the user scenarios. Troubleshooting is all about playing detective, following the trail, examining the clue, and you will solve the case. For instance, using tools like Netscaler Log, Gateway Insight, or the Event Viewer can be invaluable in identifying the root cause of issue. Let's move to the second question. What steps would you take if an SSL certificate on the Netscaler expires? This is the most common question asked by the interviewers. To answer this, there are four generic steps. One, to get the certificate. Second, import the certificate. Third, bind the certificate. And fourth, test the certificate. So first, we obtain a new SSL certificate from a trusted CA. Once we get the certificate, we need to import the certificate into the Netscaler, either via the management console or command line interface. Now, after importing, you have to bind the certificate to the required virtual server to ensure the traffic is encrypted. Once your binding is done, import is done, now you need to test the connection to make sure there is no SSL error are appearing when user try to access the system. Let's move to the next question. How do you handle high CPU utilization issue on Netscaler instance? This is not a very common issue, but it happens with the new setups. So to resolve this, first we need to start with the show system stats command to identify processes that are consuming a lot of CPU. Then we can use Netscaler MAS, which is Management and Analytics Systems on Netscaler, to analyze traffic patterns and look for anomalies. This tool can help pinpoint what might be causing the spike. Also ensure there are no misconfiguration in policies like load balancing or content switching, which could cause excessive resource use. If nothing seems off, you might need to optimize configurations or even upgrade resources if the hardware is under provision on Netscaler. Another interesting question on Netscaler asked by the interviewer. What logs would you check if Citrix sessions are failing to launch via Citrix Gateway? To fix this, first check the gateway logs. These logs are your first line of defense against issue related to session failures. Next, review event logs on the delivery controllers. Issue like certificate mismatch or invalid policies might show up here. Don't forget to check the STA logs. They help verify ticket validation between the gateway and the delivery controller. And last, ensure that the session policies are properly configured on both the gateway and the delivery controller to allow proper access. Now let's move to the storefront troubleshooting. Our first question on storefront troubleshooting is, what steps do you follow if users see a blank page after logging into storefront? So to answer this, first you should check the IIS settings on the storefront server. Are they properly configured? is the website is running. Then you can dive into the storefront logs with the event viewer for any error related to the page not rendering. Next, you can ensure that the storefront server can connect to the delivery controller. This is the most common cause for application not showing on the storefront page. If there is any network issue, it could cause the blank page. And if you suspect corruption on the storefront, recreate the storefront store and check if that resolves the issue. Storefront issue can sometimes feel like a maze, but with a systematic approach, you will find the way out. Now, our next question is related to the most famous topic, the application enumeration. Everyone knows what application enumeration is, and they can answer those step by step. But how would you resolve application enumeration issue in Storefront? So to resolve the application enumeration issue, first you should verify the delivery controller are correctly entered in the Storefront console. Missing or incorrect configuration could prevent resources from being listed. The second thing that ensure the XML service port is open and properly configured, and also check the firewall setting to ensure no blockage. The third one that you should verify the user permission in Active Directory. If a user doesn't have the necessary permission, they may not see any application. And last, analyze the storefront logs for any enumeration error that can give insight into what might be causing the issue. After finishing the application enumeration, the user may start complaining about the slow application launch from storefront. To fix this, first, validate that the delivery controller is properly connected to the storefront. Any disconnect can delay the application launch. Next, you need to analyze the storefront server load and check for network latency. If the server is overloaded or there is a delay in network communication, the launch will be slow. Then you can review any custom configuration you have in place. Sometimes these can slow down enumeration. And lastly, ensure the VDA, the virtual desktop agents, are healthy and able to communicate without issue. After reviewing all these things, you will be able to fix the slow application launch issues. Now let's move to the last question of this section. How do you troubleshoot the authentication issues in Storefront? So to answer this, we need to follow multiple steps. First, we need to verify if the user is entering correct credential and user account is healthy in AD. Then we need to check if the authentication method are properly configured in Storefront. You can check this by opening Storefront Management Console and navigate to Manage Authentication Method. You need to ensure that the required methods are enabled and also the confirmed trusted domains are properly configured. You can Then you can check the storefront logs. You can enable verbose logging in the web config file, or you can check the logs under the event viewer. Then you need to check the communication is happening properly between storefront and domain controllers and as well as storefront and delivery controllers. To check the communication, you can use tools like Telnet, PowerShell, or Wireshark. Then under the storefront management console, you need to check the delivery controllers are properly defined. The delivery controllers FQTNs are correct, and also the delivery controllers are healthy. There's one more thing which you can check is the SSL and the TLS configuration. You need to validate SSL certificates for storefronts are valid and match the access URL, and also the supported TLS protocol and resolve any mismatch ciphers. You can validate the group policies as well. Ensure that there's no restrictive policy affect storefront or user access. Also, you can restart storefront services to make sure that this help in resolving the issue. You can analyze user specific factor, like you can test with a different user account, or you can use the affected user account on another machine to rule out client side issue. There are multiple tools available like Citrix Scout or Fiddler to troubleshoot and collect the logs, and you can escalate that to Citrix as well to fix the issue. Now let's move to our section 2, the configuration issue. Let's talk about the configurations now. Setting up the right policies and ensuring smooth traffic flow can make or break your access layer. Let's begin with the Netscaler configuration related question. Our first question is, how do you configure SSL offloading on Netscaler Gateway? So to configure SSL offloading, first you need to obtain and install a SSL certificate on your NetScaler. Then you need to create a SSL virtual server and bind that certificate to the SSL virtual server. Then you need to configure the backend server to accept HTTP traffic. SSL offloading will ensure that the encryption is terminated on the NetScaler. Last, you need to set up policies to handle HTTP to HTTP redirection if needed to ensure all communication is secure. Our next question on NetScaler configuration is what is the significance of session policies and how are they configured? So session policies are essential for controlling how users interact with application and resources. Here's how you can configure them. First, you need to define session policies with specific parameter like timeouts, encryption settings, or application access requirement. Then you need to bind these policies to gateway virtual servers to enforce them. Third, you need to use expressions to match the user scenario, such as applying different settings based on the user location or group membership. So our next question is related to the most desired option, multi-factor authentication via Citrix Gateway. So to answer this, you need to follow a systematic approach. First, you need to choose an MFA provider. You can select an MFA solution like Duo, Azure MFA, or Okta. You need to configure Citrix Gateway as an application or Radius client in the provider's portal. Then you need to configure your MFA authentication. In Citrix Gateway, you can add a MFA authentication policy under configuration authentication. Then you need to provide the MFA server details, port, by default it is 1812, and shared secret. Then you need to set up a primary authentication method. You can always configure LDAP authentication as your primary authentication. Once you set up your primary authentication and your MFA policy, you need to bind those authentication policy to the virtual server from where the authentication will be happening. Then you need to test the setup by accessing the Citrix Gateway URL. You can verify the user login with ID credential as in primary and MFA as in secondary. You can always enhance and monitor these authentication thing. You can enable SSO for seamless access. You can also check Citrix Gateway and MFA logs for troubleshooting. This setup secures Citrix Gateway with dual authentication and ensuring enhanced security with MFA. Our last question on NetScaler configuration is about explaining the process of creating and assigning load balancing virtual servers for Storefront server. So the process for creating the load balancing server is very simple. First, you need to create backend server configuration for your Storefront servers. Then you need to define services like HTTP or HTTPS and bind them to the backend servers. Then you need to create a load balancing virtual server on NetScaler and bind the services to it. Finally, assign policies for health monitoring to ensure the virtual server can route traffic only to healthy storefront servers. Now let's quickly move to the storefront configuration related question. The first question is a simple one. How do you configure receiver for web in storefront? So to configure the receiver, first you need to open the storefront console. Then you need to select the store and enable receiver for web. You can also customize the interface for branding purpose or to match your company's look and feel, and as well as you can add your company's logo. Our next question on storefront configuration is what is optimal gateway routing and how you configure that. So first you should understand what is OGR. Optimal gateway routing is a feature in Citrix storefront that ensure user connect to the most appropriate Citrix gateway based on their location or network. It helps optimize the connection path for IC traffic, reducing latency and improving performance. So when OGR is implemented, the external user are routed through the nearest gateway, and internal user connect directly to the resources bypassing the gateway. How you can configure the optimal gateway routing? So to configure the OGR, first you need to configure zone in Citrix Studio. You need to open Citrix Studio, navigate to configurations, zones, and create or update zones for different data center or location. You need to assign delivery controllers, VDA, and gateways to the relevant zones. Then you need to register gateway in storefronts. You need to open storefront management console, navigate to manage NetScaler gateways, add each Citrix gateway, provide a unique name, URL, and authentication settings, Ensure the gateway is associated with the correct zone. Then you need to configure optimal gateway routing. In the storefront management console, go to the stores and select the store to configure. Click Manage Delivery Controller and go to Optimal Gateway Settings. You need to map each zone to the respective gateway. Define which gateway should handle IC traffic for user in each zone. Specify a fallback gateway for redundancy if needed. Now, by implementing optimal gateway routing, you can provide user with seamless and efficient access to Citrix resources, ensuring the best possible performance based on their location. Another question on storefront configuration is how do you enable and configure resource filtering in storefront? Normally, we don't use this feature, but sometime interviewer want to test your knowledge. So to enable this feature, you need to use PowerShell commands to define resource filter that specify which application or desktop are visible to different user or groups. You need to apply these filters to restrict access to specific resources, ensuring user only see what they should. Let's take our last question on the storefront configuration. It's about an interesting feature of the storefront. The feature is subscription store. Sometime interviewer can ask that user is saved some of the desktop or apps in their favorite, but whenever they log out and log in back, those favorites are getting removed. So how you troubleshoot that thing? So to troubleshoot this issue, you need to understand what subscription store do. Subscription store in Citrix Storefront are database that store information about users' application and desktop subscription. They maintain personalized data about which apps or desktop a user has added to their favorites or subscribed to, enabling a consistent and customized user experience across devices. So whenever Storefront is installed, a default subscription store is created automatically. It resides in the Storefront database and it is used by all stores unless additional stores are configured. And now, if you want to manage those subscription stores, you need to go to the Storefront Management Console. You need to navigate to Manage Subscription Store under the Server Group settings. Review and configure subscription store setting for your storefront deployment. Subscription store also can be centralized across multiple storefront server groups. Centralization is useful for the multi-site deployment to maintain user subscription across different geographical locations. Also, you can relocate your subscription store to a SQL server, to an external SQL server as well. You can configure this by pointing storefront to the new SQL server instance during or after installation. You need to make sure that your storefront synchronize subscription data across all server in a server group to ensure consistency. Ensure proper communication between server using TCP port 808 for this synchronization. You can also regularly backup the storefront database as it contains subscription store data. To restore, recover the database from backup and reconfigure storefront to use the restore database. Common issue like missing subscription can occur if synchronization fails or the database is corrupted. You can check Event Viewer for errors related to the subscription. You can also use the Storefront PowerShell module to troubleshoot or reset subscription for a specific user. The best practices which you need to follow is use an external SQL server for subscription store in large deployments. You can monitor storefront and database health regularly to prevent disruption. Also, you can test subscription synchronization after making significant changes to the environment. By managing subscription store effectively, you ensure a seamless user experience with consistency access across their subscribed resources, regardless of device or location. Upgrades are next. Whether it's Netscaler or Storefront, pre-checks are your best friend because they help identify potential issue beforehand, ensuring a smooth upgrade process. Let's look at some common interview question. Let's begin with Netscaler upgrade question. Our first question on the upgrade scenario is about the Netscaler firmware upgrade. What are the pre-checks you perform before upgrading a Netscaler firmware? The checks which I perform is first taking the backup of all the configuration and the certificates before upgrading. Second thing which I do will be to verify firmware compatibility with the existing setup to ensure there won't be any issue post upgrade. The third and the last one is to check high availability synchronization to ensure both nodes are in sync before starting the upgrade process. Next interesting question on the firmware upgrade is how would you roll back a failed firmware upgrade on Netscaler, guys? So to roll back a fail upgrade, you need to use the rollback feature available in the Netscaler Management Console, or you can use the command line interface to revert to the previous firmware version. Always ensure that you have a backup of your configuration and settings before proceeding with any rollback. In last two questions, we explore how to prepare for a Netscaler firmware upgrade and the steps to roll back a failed upgrade. Now let's dive into upgrading a HA pair interactively. To begin, ensure the new firmware version is compatible with your current configurations and features. This is crucial to avoid any post-upgrade issue. Next, backup your configuration and SSL certificate to a secure external location as a safety measure. Before starting the upgrade, double-check the health of your HA pair as well. The primary node should be up and the secondary node should be in the stay secondary state. This ensures the HA setup is stable and ready for the upgrade process. Plan to perform the upgrade during an approved maintenance window only to minimize user impact. Once scheduled, download the latest firmware from the Citrix website and upload it to both ADC nodes. You can always use tools like SCP or the GUI for these steps. Now let's begin with upgrading the secondary node first. Once log into the secondary node and perform the upgrade. After the upgrade, the secondary node will reboot automatically. Once the secondary node came up, you need to verify the secondary node is healthy after the upgrade and also confirm that it has rejoined the HA pair as the secondary node only. After this, force a failover to make the upgraded secondary node the primary and the previously primary node will now become secondary. Log into the new secondary node which was previously primary and repeat the upgrade process. Once the upgrade is completed, verify that both nodes are upgraded and synchronized. You can also verify the updated firmware version from the GUI or from the command line as well. Confirm that the primary node is serving traffic and the secondary node is in standby mode. Now the last question is how do you verify successful completion of Netscaler upgrade? So to verify the Netscaler upgrade, you need to check the firmware version in the GUI or CLI to ensure the upgrade was successful. You also need to verify the configuration and connectivity to ensure all settings are intact post upgrade. As well, you need to test the critical functionality like gateway and load balancing to make sure everything is working as expected. So that concludes this firmware upgrade for the Netscaler. Now that we have covered the Netscaler firmware upgrade, let's move on to the storefront upgrades. Our first topic is how to upgrade a multi-server storefront deployment. Before starting the upgrade, it's important to back up all storefront configuration and subscription data. Next, ensure that all storefront servers are operational and properly synchronized within the server group. Finally, verify that the storefront application is functioning correctly across the entire deployment. Let's begin with the upgrade process. Begin by placing the primary storefront server in maintenance mode to remove it from the load balancing or DNS resolution. Download and run the latest storefront installer on the primary server. After the upgrade, restart the storefront services and verify that everything is functioning properly. Once the primary server is upgraded and verified, proceed with upgrading the secondary server one by one. Place each secondary server in maintenance mode before starting the upgrade. Follow the same process to upgrade the software and restart the services after each upgrade. After upgrading all servers, check the synchronization status within the server group. Test user access and ensure all application, subscriptions, and configuration are intact and function correctly. By following this process, you ensure a seamless and minimal impact upgrade to your multi-server storefront deployment. Last question on this section will be how do you handle user subscription data during a storefront upgrade? So the simple step is to export the subscription data from storefront before the upgrade begins. And once the upgrade is complete, re-import the subscription data to ensure user preference and subscription are present. And that's a wrap for part 3 of our Citrix interview question and answer series. Remember, mastering the access layer isn't just about memorizing answer. It's about understanding the concept and applying them to our real world scenarios. We have covered some common troubleshooting scenarios, configuration challenges, and upgrades that are essential for managing and optimizing the access layer in Citrix environment. As we continue to explore the access layer, we will dive even deeper into more scenario-based questions in the next part, where we will look at advanced troubleshooting and real-world situation. So make sure to stay tuned for part 4, where we will tackle even more scenarios to help you excel in your statistics career. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with your peers. And as always, drop your question in the comments. Thank you for watching and see you in the next part.